Hello YouTube, it's April 14th, which is another day of VEDA, and today is the 108th anniversary of the Titanic striking an iceberg and starting its process of sinking. And tomorrow, depending on which timeline you're on, very early in the morning is the day that the Titanic finished the process and was in the ocean. And today I got to do something to me is kind of cool. I know I'm very random with what's cool for me, but someone I knew from church who just really cool. He travels the world and he's been to Belfast and seen where the Titanic headed off from and everything. And he's a big Titanic fan, which is always interesting to meet another person that's very into your idiosyncrasies. But him and a couple people put together a live stream, and I believe it's still up to look at a later date. So I'll check that out after I post the video, and if it is, I'll put a link in the comments, the doobly-doo below. And it was interesting. It was a VR tour of the Titanic, and hearing them talk about things, talk about history, hearing little stories I hadn't heard, which is just super surprising to me because there's so many things that I know and I'm just obsessive about with all the documentaries and books and everything that has impacted it. And during the live stream, there was this kind of quick moment where one of the people said to remember that, this was real people. These are real people. And although all the survivors are dead, it doesn't mean that memory still over a century later doesn't touch family members and people who are connected in some way or another. There was a great-grandchild of someone that was on the Titanic typing away in the live stream, and that just shows there's this connection. And tomorrow I'm gonna do some of my other Titanic-y stuff because on the 14th and the 15th is when I do my Titanic stuff. I'm gonna attempt to watch the movie. Quite a chunk of it isn't quite appropriate for an almost 2-year-old, so I gotta try to watch it within my daughter's schedule. It's 3 hours, so it's a lot to watch when you're trying to avoid a toddler schedule, so we'll see how that works out. At bare minimum, I've been starting doing homeschool preschool with my daughter in the mornings, and she likes her class time, and we're definitely going to incorporate the Titanic into it. I have so many books, and a lot of them are kid books, so I'm kind of just trying to decide which book I want to do with her. I mean, they're all too long for an almost 2-year-old to really sit through the whole thing. But they're all, kind of interesting and good to take a look at. I mean, the Draw the Titanic book, it's not a lot of actual info, so maybe between the artwork I could go for it. This one's probably the best, but I'm not as big a fan of the cover. And it goes back to the, these are real people. There are some things that come off as weirdly disrespectful when you look at stuff, especially the farther you go. I mean, I think the one that always jumps out at me is the 1950s Titanic movie, just called Titanic. There's several of those. And I have it, and it's on my shelf. My aunt gave it to me years and years ago when she was visiting, and I saw it on the store shelf, and I'm like, man, do I want to have that, because I don't have it. And I look at it, and I go, this is super disrespectful and super weird and super wrong in a lot of regards. I mean, most of it is just, fluffy 1950s movies, and there's some bits that are good. But, and I'm sure I've mentioned it on this channel before as I talk about the Titanic every year, but a rich first-class man who are actually stowed away basically into first class, but has a very wealthy family, so no one cares. He comes down and he sees all these poor people in third class just kind of standing there, looking like idiots, saying, "You have to go up," and everyone's like, okay, yeah. And he finally just leaves and goes up. And that, the disregard for the poorer folks, the people that are less than, which frustrated me as society. Yeah, they're people that had real families and fears and pain. I mean, another thing in the live stream was just a question of what do you want to really know, and you could find out stuff. And although it would be horrific and it would be so flippin' difficult, I think it would be of amazing value to really know exactly how things went down in third class. Historically, there were a lot of people that didn't really buy a lot of poorer people's opinions on things. There are certain accounts that are just completely tossed out that we found out through exploring the wreckage and things like that, that they were actually accurate, but they weren't really listening much to the poor third-class passengers that happened to make it through in ways that they listened to wealthier people and people going through stuff. And it's an interesting April this year. I have this weird fascination with a disaster and the things that go directly in response to this disaster. I have shelves filled with books. I have shelves filled with documentaries and movies, and I have watched, most random little things I can get my hands on. And most years I do read Titanic books, watch movies, documentaries. This year I did watched a live stream. And since I've done this channel, I basically every year do a video on here. So it's interesting because here I sit in the midst of a global disaster. There's a pandemic outside my window, and people are sick, and people are dying. And I think reflecting on the Titanic and that particular disaster and how things go, I mean, there are things that just make me think about it. These are outside my window, real people, just like the Titanic is real people. When I think about highly privileged people that feel like there's no way anything can get to them, and they just sit there on their own regards and are going outside and disregarding orders and not thinking of issues, and they're highly privileged because they're very healthy or they're young or whatever reason they feel entitled. And I can't help but think, first class people sitting there listening to the band, not knowing really what's going on in front of them. And I think about people that are not in a financial state to handle this well. I mean, I live in the United States, and I am blessed to live in the United States. My hours are getting cut. My husband is getting furloughed next week. Financially, it's not going to be fantastic. We've never had lots of money. We do save. We have a savings. But I live in a country that is sending out stimulus checks right now. I live in a country where I have the ability to claim unemployment. And I live in a state that is very forward thinking about a lot of things in regards to social security nets, and I feel like if we got to a point where the state was doing very badly, they would probably push in their own version of a stimulus check or something of that nature. I'm not easy. This has been a hard day again, like emotionally just taxing, difficult. But I know I am privileged in many ways. I am not living in a refugee camp or sitting on the border of some country trying to come in, mine or others, and stuck in an immigration camp. I am not in parts of the world where housing is substantially less secure. I know it's not as secure as it could be here either. But there's more security where I live. And I'm not working a minimum wage job that has suddenly become one of the most important things in the world. And when I think about the third class people on the Titanic, and I think about what they're going through, and how difficult it was, and how scary it was, and how hard it was, it's a sad commentary that, you know, our poor are always the ones that get pushed aside and are always the ones in danger and difficulty and fear. And in 108 years, I think we're a bit better, but not where we should be. And I don't have the answers to how do we do that. But every year I try to think, as someone that has just found fascination and intrigue, and some forms of entertainment and fun from studying this event in history, I try to think of a way that 1,500 people's deaths can be impactful. And sometimes, you know, preparing for disasters, which I should have had more earthquake stuff before all this happened. So I don't even listen to myself sometimes. Or different moments, but I want to think about the people stuck in third class and the people up on the decks listening to the music and the people stuck in between. And I want to remember that there are people outside my window that have it very hard. And I'm going to use this day as a day to pray for them. These 2 days that I think about the Titanic, to send them and see if there's a way that I can look something up and do some kind of good for a charity or something of some sort that is helping those who are less fortunate than I in the midst of a disaster and difficulty. And I am grateful for those that are stepping up, that are putting things into effect, that have made this less of a disaster than it could have been substantially. We are going to get out of this, if we go along with what's happening, way better than it could have been. And I just hope we're all pushing through. So I just wanted to do my little Titanic video today. Matthew, if you happen to have seen this, I think I'm going to tag you just because your live stream was the kicking off point for my thoughts for this video. Hey, thanks for the cool video today. I was happy to have a moment to escape from my apartment and, you know, think about something that has fascinated me since I was a little kid. All right, guys, God bless. And I'm going to see you tomorrow for more VEDA. Bye.